Okay, morning all, and welcome back after half term. I hope that you all managed to catch up on some of those loose ends that all of us inevitably have at the start of a school holiday. I hope also that you managed to enjoy some time away from screens and away from work. Hopefully out in the fresh air, perhaps doing a bit of exercise, perhaps at home with a good book, and hopefully with your families. Hope effectively that you had an opportunity to unwind, relax, and to restore your energies. Anyway, welcome back. Let's hope we can all look forward to a good few weeks ahead, and fingers crossed, a steady return to normality. Let's hope. Hope. Now, we talk a lot about hope and about optimism here at BGS. Chins up, spirits up, keep aiming high, keep moving forwards, keeping on. Hokage. Nothing wrong with that, but we set hope up, don't we, as a good thing. What about doubt? Hope good, doubt bad? Is it that simple? Doubt. Is it wrong to have doubts? Is doubt the enemy of hope, the enemy of progress? Should we suppress our doubts? Well, doubt is perhaps a somewhat unusual topic of today's assembly, so we're going to explore the concept of doubt just a little in the next few moments to try and work out, perhaps, if in fact doubt is such a bad thing after all. So I'll start with an abstract question, a bit weird on a Monday morning, but bear with me. Question is this: is the world real? Now, we all believe that it is real. I think the sky is blue, the fields are green. This is the headmaster talking to you now on screen, on camera. This is up, this is down. The table is very definitely solid. And this is a somewhat questionable shirt choice for a Monday morning, any morning for that matter. We all believe this to be the case. Why? Well, because it's obvious, isn't it? It just is. Well, that would be a very short assembly if that was the conclusion, but you don't get off the hook that easy. Not quite. Question is, how do we know that all this stuff is real, that this is happening right now? Because we all see and sense the same things at the same time. Is that the answer? Because there's an observable external reality, obviously. There's me, there's you, and there's this common experience, this common reality that we're all sharing in, including right now. Again, the fields are green, the sky is blue, and my shirt hasn't got any better. So there it is then. Shared common sense experience of reality and our senses connecting us with the outside real world. Now, you might not realise it, but this is a very British view of things, a very British view of everything, of the cosmos. Francis Bacon and John Locke lived in the late 1500s, 1600s. Both were philosophers and scientific thinkers, founding fathers of the scientific revolution, the industrial revolution that was sweeping through Western Europe at the time. Both men believed in a firm, absolute, objective, natural world, a world beyond our bodies, a real world that we could perceive accurately. Two Brits who shaped that worldview. This industrial, post-industrial scientific view of the world, this paradigm, this way of thinking, tells us that the world is real and we experience it directly. David Hume, Scottish philosopher writing in the 1700s, summed it up best, perhaps, when he said that humans have knowledge of those things they experience and nothing else. So the world then, solid and real. But what if this industrial, this scientific paradigm is in fact flawed? Bear with me. I know it doesn't seem like common sense, but let's go back to an earlier time, to a pre-industrial age. Let's go back to the ancient world. Let's go back to 470 BC and meet an even older, more ancient philosopher who you probably heard of, Socrates. Now, Socrates is attributed to have said the following. He said, "He who sees with his eyes is blind." He probably said it stroking his beard, looking very wise. He who sees with his eyes is blind. What if our senses could, in fact, deceive us? What if the information they provide about the real world is misleading? There's lots of ways to examine this. We'll have a go this morning with the help of some images. Okay, so Socrates and our senses deceiving us. What do you see? Straight lines or bendy ones? Well, I see bendy lines, but I know in fact that they are ramrod straight and I'm being deceived. There are lots of similar sorts of illusions. This is a rather famous one, where I, and maybe you, see the top line as being longer than the bottom horizontal line. But I think we know, in fact, do we not, that they are the same length. Lots of these illusions abound, to be perfectly honest. Sometimes we can get so confused by our senses that our brains try to build an impossible reality. We can be deceived. We can perceive reality wrongly, as perhaps you did, just like me, just then. Our senses do not always connect us up accurately with the outside world. Sometimes they can disconnect us from it. Worse still, sometimes we can see things that aren't there at all. Ghosts in the machine. We don't just make mistakes, we can make things up. Does this work for you? Now, you may wish to pause your screen to see the full effect. And the problems just keep coming. This is a personal favourite. Now, I fully admit that if I stare at this too long, I get a headache. You might wish to pause your screen again to get the effect. You see, not everyone will see these visual effects. Not everyone will perceive, for example, the motion that was in those last two coloured images. Did you see it? See, the reality is we can all be deceived, and to different degrees. And that's just our own species. What if we were cats? What if you were a goldfish? What if I was a bee? This is the world according to a bee. And us. Our view of the buttercups is the traditional one. The bees, well, a bit more like Blackpool illuminations. And who's to say the bee is wrong? I mean, I think the bee has a more intimate relationship with the buttercup than you and I. So maybe the slightly lurid, unusual, striking version of the buttercup is the right one. Who's to say? Who's to say that we, human beings, have the correct and accurate version of reality? The bees might argue the toss. Now, according to ancient philosophy, the allegory of the cave, physical objects, physical events are but shadows of reality. If you believe that, you might wonder if anything is real at all, and whether or not the world, in fact, exists only as a reality in our minds, an individual interpretation of the world. Does any of this, do any of you really exist? Do I? Right now, including my flowery shirt. Now, one last philosopher for the morning, a chap called Descartes, whilst thinking deeply about these things, derived what for him was an essential singular truth. Descartes concluded that, in fact, thought exists. Thought. And we're doing some thinking now, I hope. And thought cannot be separated from the thinker. I think, therefore I exist, most famously expressed as, in English, I think, therefore I am. But more precisely, Descartes concluded something subtly different. If doubt existed, then someone or something must be doing the doubting. The very fact that he, Descartes, doubted his own existence proved, in fact, that he did exist. I think therefore I am is perhaps more accurately expressed as I doubt, therefore I am. So maybe doubt is no bad thing after all, not if finally it provides proof of our existence, which is a fairly significant thing after all. But here's the unresolved problem which remains. You see, if you believed any of this stuff, you can now be sure that you exist. But what about everybody else in your reality, in your world? You exist, but do we? Or maybe just in your head? Which begs a rather interesting question. Because I would then be just a figment of your imagination. And why on earth would you need to create me? Or anyone for that matter? Keep thinking, and thank you for listening. Have a good week.